Alright, this is day one of me going fully transparent. Starting now, you get to see my every move 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Let's go into the comments here. What are people saying? Why am I not wearing any pants? Well, I barely got up. I'm getting ready. What else are people saying? Why have I not done anything interesting yet? Hey, you try making essentially a 24/7 live stream of myself look interesting. All these cameras around me. I have no privacy. This is just stupid. You know what? I quit. What is up, everybody? Random Random Man here, bringing you my review for the film adaptation of The Circle. Based on the book of the same name, written by Dave Eggers, the plot basically follows May Holland, played by Emma Watson, a young tech worker who gets a position to work at the powerful internet corporation known as The Circle, which was co-founded by Eamon Bailey, played by Tom Hanks. May quickly rises up through the ranks of this corporation, only to find herself exposed to a world where the questions of privacy, surveillance, and freedom are put at stake. Going into this movie, I was looking forward to it, as I was interested not just for the interesting concept and the cast, which does include those two leads I've previously mentioned, but also for the co-writer and director of this film. This film is co-written and directed by James Ponsoldt, who is mostly known for independent films, which I've seen two of. His 2012 film Smashed, which I actually just saw last night, is a movie I did enjoy, and his 2013 film, The Spectacular Now, is a movie I love. I feel this is one of the best coming-of-age movies of the decade so far. So, I clearly had some expectations, even though I haven't read the book the movie is based on. Starting out with the cast and the performances, Emma Watson does a fine job as our lead character for the most part. I liked how we saw her getting this job at The Circle, and we see how she's exposed to this world that is essentially like a faux Facebook or Google type of place. But the movie got interesting when it began, once the introduction of Tom Hanks' character comes into play, who is the co-founder of The Circle. He is only in a handful of scenes, but when he's on screen, he is incredibly charismatic. He echoes a Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs type of character, and even though what he's saying a lot of the times is half-assed, you cannot help but want to actually believe what he is saying on screen. The other cast members of this movie is where I get to my first problem with The Circle. A lot of them are very hit or miss. John Boyega plays a co-worker of May's in the movie, and he gets a really interesting subplot, but it's in and out of the film really fast and glossed over. Karen Gillan plays another one of May's co-workers. She's in and out of the movie a lot too, even though she has a compelling side to her as well. Eller Coltrane from Boyhood plays the ex-boyfriend, I guess, of May. It's really not glossed over that much, but he falls flat in the scenes he is in. Patton Oswalt plays the other co-founder of The Circle, and he really goes nowhere either, other than being in most of the scenes with Tom Hanks' character. There's even May's parents, played by Glenn Headley and Bill Paxton. And Bill Paxton, may he rest in peace. This is sadly his final film role, and while him and Headley don't do much, they have a nice screen presence to them. The writing in this film is also where I get to more issues with the movie. Watson is kind of bland with some of the dialogue that she has to deliver, and I'm not saying it's entirely her fault, but the script that she's given a lot of things to say that don't entirely make sense. This is also not helped out by how May isn't the smartest character ever. By the end of the first hour, without giving anything away, she starts making dumb decisions that do carry out for the rest of the movie. The direction in this movie isn't that focused either, and it really spills over into how poorly edited this movie is. It was balanced at first. We see half of the movie go about May's daily life, and eventually at one point in the movie, she becomes quote-unquote transparent, where she allows her daily life and everything around her to be monitored for the whole world to see. Another big part of this movie is the keynote type sessions that do involve Hanks' character, but also Watson's character too. It becomes really messy, but then something happens. We get to a point in the movie, again, without spoiling anything, that involves the characters played by Hanks, Watson, and Oswald, where they're speaking in front of a large audience in another keynote type session, and we see an incredibly despicable move happen that made me lose a lot of credibility towards Watson's character. It wasn't entirely her fault necessarily, as she was influenced by Hanks and Oswald's characters, but man, that moment in time made it really hard for me to identify with Watson's character again, even though she already made not so smart decisions before, one of them involving her parents. It runs at about an hour and 50 minutes, and I felt the running time at certain points. It got boring for some long stretches. Then the ending happens. Again, without giving anything away, the final 5 minutes of this movie is when it tried to be engaging again. Then the final seconds of this movie, literally the last shots of this film, betray what it had built up to up until that point. And it literally made my jaw drop. It became super pretentious. I never want to call a movie that, but it became that. There are some good things to this movie though. For one thing, I think it's a very good-looking movie. It has a very pristine, slick, sleek-looking design with it. It's a shame that it was hampered by sloppy editing, even to the point where conversations with two characters looked all over the place. I did enjoy the ambient score with the movie. The music was very technologic in its execution, but it was still a general bore throughout. I had to subject myself to essentially get myself through this movie by looking at Emma Watson's gorgeous self. All in all, this movie was such a waste, a huge waste of an intriguing concept, but it had awful execution. It does look and sound good, but it ultimately failed to be a cautionary tale that involved technology like this in a post-Snowden world where everyone is covering up their cameras on their devices. It pains me to say that Ponsoldt could not deliver this time around with this awful film. If you're a fan of this writer/director and of Emma Watson and Tom Hanks, I would say that this is a waste of time on top of its wasted ideas that the movie tried to present itself. I do not recommend it. My final verdict for The Circle is 1.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of The Circle, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.